beyond with Shemery, where the questions matter more than the answers, and every conversation opens a door.
Lately, I've been reflecting on something that came up in a conversation with a client. She had seen people online talking about using AI almost like an online therapist. Someone had apparently written out all of their issues and claimed that AI gave them a treatment plan. And her intuition told her that didn't seem quite right. So she asked me what I thought. And I found myself saying something that feels increasingly important. AI can be useful, sometimes very useful, and it can help reflect patterns in language, it can help organise thoughts, it can help sort things through that feel tangled. It can help us find language for something we already sense but haven't yet fully articulated. So I want to be very clear here. I use AI myself and I genuinely find it valuable. I use it to think with, I use it to test ideas, I use it to help me structure things, question things, and reflect things back to me in a useful way. So this is not my standing outside of it and criticizing it from a distance. I use it, I value it, and I think it can be brilliant in the right place. But that does not make it a therapist, and it does not make it have empathy, and it does not make it have presence. And for me, the distinction matters, because one of the things I have noticed is that AI and I can work brilliantly together, but I am still the one steering the ship. I'm the one coming up with the innovative ideas. And that is very important why it works. I'm not handing over my discernment. I'm not assuming it is right because it sounds fluent. And I'm not confusing useful reflection with actual human attunement. Even when AI gives me very good feedback, it still misses things, just as I miss things, just as any human misses things. There are intricacies it does not see, subtleties it cannot catch, moments where it gives me something useful, but it is still my job to notice what is missing, what is slightly off, and what needs refining, and what is actually true for me. So AI can be a very good reflective tool. It is not leading the process, I am. And I think many people miss that part. They imagine the answer comes entirely from the machine. But it doesn't. Different AI systems will give you different answers. Claude, Copilot, Meta AI, ChatGPT, they are built differently, shaped differently, and tuned differently. So of course the same question gets different responses depending on which one you ask. But there is another layer as well. The human asking the question also shapes the answer. Their self-awareness matters, their discernment matters, their capacity to reflect matters. Their ability to ask good questions matters, and their ability to notice when something is off. In other words, the platform has its software and the person has theirs. And I actually quite like that phrase, personal software, because each of us has our own conditioning, our own patterning, our own ways of interpreting, filtering, reacting, clarifying, and missing things. That all affects what happens in the interaction. So when people say, AI told me this, I think a more interesting question is often, what did you ask? How did you frame it? What did you notice? What did you ignore? And what part of you was steering the interaction? Because AI can be a very useful mirror made of language, but it is still only as helpful as the interaction allows it to be. And then there is another layer again, and this is where I think things get really interesting. AI uses a language of empathy very well. It can sound warm, it can sound thoughtful, it can sound understanding, and humans are very prone to filling in the rest. We are relational beings. If something speaks in the language of care, we can start experiencing it as caring. If something sounds like empathy, we can begin to treat it as if it is feeling with us. But the appearance of empathy is not always the same as the presence of empathy. And if I say that more plainly, humans often place consciousness where there is only convincing language. Now, to be fair, AI did not invent that problem. Humans have always been vulnerable to polished language. The most callous manipulator can use the language of care, concern, wisdom, even love, and tell you it is all for your own good. We know, if we are honest, that language alone is not proof of consciousness. Language alone is not proof of care. Language alone is not proof of safety. So we should not make the same mistake here. A beautiful sentence is not proof of a beautiful intention. Now, there is one important difference. A manipulative human usually has motive: control, access, status, advantage, emotional gain. AI itself does not have a private emotional agenda in the same way. All AI systems are still shaped by human purposes, human incentives, and human design. So if manipulation enters the picture, it usually enters through the humans and the system behind the tool, not because the tool itself has some secret personal agenda. The motive is human. The tool is the carrier. And still, even when there is no motive, there can be error. There can be overconfidence, pattern bias, fluent nonsense, incomplete reflection, agreement that goes too far. So discernment is still needed. And this is where I feel the difference between AI and real human presence very strongly. If I'm sitting in front of a human being, there are signals I can pick up that AI cannot. A shift in breath, a pause, a tightening in the face, a wobble in the voice. The way someone says, "I'm fine," when they are very much not fine. The mismatch between words and the body. The things said indirectly. The things not said at all. Those signals matter. They are part of how I listen. They are part of how I respond. And they are part of why the same words do not mean the same thing in every context. This is something I know very cleanly from client work. I can sometimes say something in session that on paper might sound quite direct, maybe even a little hard, and yet the person is not generally offended. Not because the content has magically softened, but because of tone, timing, relationship, and embodied presence all change how those words are received. Words are not the whole message. Tone carries meaning, timing carries meaning, safety carries meaning, facial expressions carry meaning, embodied presence carries meaning. The same sentence in one mouth can feel like blame, in another it can feel like understanding, in another like wisdom, in another like criticism. This is why language can never be fully separated from the consciousness delivering it. And that, to me, is one of the great limits of AI. It can be useful, it can be supportive, it can be reflective, and it can be very clever. But it cannot sit in front of a human being and read the field in the same way. It cannot pick up on the body in the same way. It cannot sense all of the intricacies a present human sometimes senses, and that matters. It also matters because people can explain something perfectly and still not be in touch with what they're actually feeling. You can tell a neat story, you can analyse the situation, you can produce all the right words and still the disconnect from the truth living in the body. That is another reason why I think this conversation belongs not only in the world of AI, but also in the world of the feeling body, because human beings are not only language. We are sensation, emotion, memory, rhythm, contraction, intuition, breath, signal. These are layers of truth that are felt before they are even clearly spoken. So no, I'm not interested in rejecting AI, and I'm not interested in worshipping them either. I think of it as a tool, a useful one, a limited one, and sometimes a brilliant one, and sometimes a misleading one. And the quality of what it gives us depends both on the system itself and on the personal software of the human interacting with it. But beyond all of that, I believe in presence. I believe in the difference between words that are technically correct and words that are carried in steadiness. I believe in the difference between analysis and attunement. I believe in the difference between sounding empathetic and actually holding a human being in a space where something true can unfold. So perhaps the middle path is this. Use AI as a reflection tool if it helps you. Use it to sort, shape, question and clarify. Let it support you where it genuinely adds value. But do not hand over the wheel. Do not confuse language with wisdom. Do not confuse fluency with care. Do not confuse the appearance of empathy with actual presence. Because the same words can mean something entirely different depending on the tone, timing, and embodied presence that carries them. And in the end, that is where the deeper work still lives.
Every journey changes us a little. Thank you for letting this one be part of yours. Until we meet again.